Ellie could only apologize. Her mother-in-law said that, but she felt embarrassed. Junoo asked Guda why there had been no progress in his brother's case. Didn't you say you would take responsibility for this case? Eula couldn't believe that her second brother was still obsessed with his brother's death. Guda told him to be patient for a few more days. There would soon be a result. Eula didn't understand why her second brother had given Guda his brother's case, and told her to mind her own business. To celebrate Eula's promotion to vice president, Guda's mother sent her a wreath, and a lunchbox prepared by Ellie's mother. Eula praised her aunt for her beauty and kindness. Meanwhile, Ellie was still at home doing the housework. She had to pickle delicious kimchi for the whole family, but suddenly she felt dizzy and dropped the kimchi all over the floor. At that moment, her mother called and asked her to come home for dinner. Ellie asked what was the matter. Her mother couldn't believe that her daughter had forgotten her own birthday. Ellie then remembered that today was her birthday. However, none of her in-laws, including her husband, remembered the event. Her husband was busy accompanying Eula to a party. Eula took this opportunity to introduce him to his colleagues and said that this was her fiancé. Guda was also happy to accept. Her mother had prepared delicious kelp soup. However, Ellie smelled the smell and felt a little nauseous. The family sat down happily to eat together. Ellie took a bite of the noodles but began to dry heave. Her mother thought it was just not to her liking, but she kept retching. The whole family hurried after her. As a mother who had been there herself, she seemed to understand at once that her ex-boyfriend, who had never stopped loving her, had sent a cake. Ellie couldn't refuse it, and hoped he wouldn't do it again in the future. Ellie took the cake back to her in-laws' house. The children were very excited to see the cake. Everyone then remembered that it was Ellie's birthday. Lucy thought it was a gift from her sister-in-law's family, but her mother-in-law said that those people had deliberately bought a cake to demonstrate to her in-laws' house. Lucy discovered that it was actually a custom-made high-heel cake. She knew at first glance that it was from the country's most exclusive pastry shop. Her mother-in-law wondered why her poor family had suddenly become so generous. They were a family who usually felt bad about buying even a little meat. Ellie silently helped everyone cut the cake. Lucy seemed to be eating the best thing in the world. At this time, Guda also returned home from work. His uncle asked him why he had returned empty-handed. His wife's birthday had passed without any indication of appreciation. Guda said that he had been too busy to remember. Ellie had to show her understanding. Guda immediately told her to go upstairs and fill the bathtub for him. Her mother quickly asked if he was with Eula. Guda didn't hide it. The little girl saw a card in the cake box and read it. Hearing this, Guda quickly turned around. Her mother-in-law snatched the card. Lucy felt that the cake must have been sent by a man. Guda quickly ran over there. Even if he doesn't like his wife, he can't give her to someone else. He pretended to be calm and asked his wife how her birthday at her parents' house had been. Ellie said she had just come back from dinner. Guda asked her if there was anything else. Seeing his wife's innocent face, he didn't want to ask too many questions, but Ellie suddenly noticed something wrong with his shirt. There was a lipstick stain on the collar. It turned out that Guda had accidentally left it there when he had carried the drunk Eula home. He had to say that he had just been to a bar with a colleague. After that, he quickly turned around and went into the bathroom. Ellie always felt that something was wrong, but she didn't want to ask too much. Lying on the bed, Guda couldn't sleep. He thought about the mother-in-law who polished shoes, compared to Eula, who was born into a noble family and had a bright future. Comparing the two, he really had nothing to worry about. A woman like Eula was the goal of his life. Guda took out the ring Eula gave him in the car and asked her out to dinner. Seeing the ring she had given him finally on his finger, Eula was so moved that tears welled up in her eyes. Guda said that after spending this time together, he has fallen deeply in love with you. He hopes that Eula can be his woman. When she heard that her daughter-in-law was pregnant, the mother-in-law almost choked to death. She repeatedly asked Ellie if this was true. After getting a positive answer, the mother-in-law fainted directly. Guda also had no energy. Ellie thought that the mother-in-law was just too happy. She once again told her mother-in-law that she was indeed pregnant. This made the mother-in-law, who had just woken up, faint again. Her mother-in-law thought to herself that it was really not a good thing for Ellie to get pregnant at this critical moment. Only her uncle was happy for Ellie. It turned out that Guda and Eula had already talked about getting married. Her mother-in-law didn't want to miss out on the marriage that had finally been negotiated. In order to let her son marry the rich girl smoothly, bang bang bang, she pulled her face down and went to Eula's house to beg her mother, to hope that the lady in the high position would agree to the marriage. Even if the other party asked her son to live in their house after marriage, she would unconditionally agree. Ellie's mother asked her daughter if Guda's attitude had changed now that she was pregnant. Ellie didn't want her mother to worry, so she said that her husband was very considerate. In fact, her husband knew that she was pregnant, but he didn't show any joy. Instead, he told her to wait at home for him to finish work. After turning around, Guda went to Eula's house for dinner. Eula's father was very satisfied with him. Eula said that he planned to get married the following week. The hotel and honeymoon had all been booked. His mother felt that it was a bit too rushed. Gouda said that the company would enter its peak season soon and he wanted to get married before then. Everyone had to agree when they heard this. Eula showed him his older brother's study. He would be allowed to use that room after the wedding. Seeing his brother's photo on the desk smiling at him made the guilty Gouda feel very scared. He made an excuse and hurriedly left. Gouda was so scared that he could hardly breathe. He thought about the night when he had pushed his brother off the building. It was his haunting nightmare. Gouda, who was feeling down, returned home. His sister said he looked a bit strange. His uncle said if it was alright, he would not be human. His wife was pregnant and yet she was talking about marriage with someone else. Ellie walked in with a tonic soup. Gouda asked her how many weeks pregnant she was. Ellie said it was about 4 weeks. Gouda said that was the time you returned to your parents' home. Seeing her husband's attitude, Ellie asked him what it meant. Gouda asked her if she was so sensitive because she was guilty. Ellie couldn't believe it. Are you suggesting that you don't think the baby is yours? Gouda asked her if she was pregnant with someone else's baby and came back. Ellie didn't bother arguing with him. She said she had been pregnant for a month and it was time to get the marriage certificate. Gouda, who was annoyed, had to drink a glass of wine to relieve the pressure. Her mother took Gouda into the room and asked him if he also suspected that Ellie was pregnant, and said that she got pregnant after going to her parents' house for a while. Gouda said that he and Eula were going to get married soon. On this side, Ellie was rushing to register. When her mother heard this, she also became nervous, but the baby was still in the womb, so they couldn't do a paternity test. Gouda was also distressed about what to do on the day of the wedding. Not only Ellie, but also her family. If they knew that I was marrying someone else, they would definitely not let it go. His mother told him not to worry about this. She would definitely take care of everything. In order to prevent her daughter-in-law from finding out that her son was going to marry someone else, the mother-in-law tried every means to get Ellie to go on a trip abroad. She asked Ellie to bring her mother along, as a token of her gratitude for conceiving her own child. Ellie and her mother were so moved that they completely forgot how they had been treated the other day. The whole family was giggling away. Gouda looked at his sleeping wife next to him and felt a little guilty. Before going to work, he left Ellie some money to go out with her mother and buy something delicious. Ellie was so moved that she was in tears. To express her gratitude to her son-in-law, Ellie's mother spent all her gold savings to buy him custom-made leather shoes. Ellie even prepared all the meals for the family for a few days and put them in the refrigerator. She told her mother-in-law that they could just take them out and heat them up. She had done everything in advance. She also said that she felt bad that she couldn't take care of everyone while she was away on vacation. Her mother-in-law told her to just go out and have fun. Only the kind-hearted uncle felt guilty. He knew exactly what his sister's family was up to. As soon as his daughter-in-law left, they received a gift from the Eulas. The mother and daughter were impressed. The rich really are different. They are so generous. The uncle said that their conscience had been eaten by a dog. Gouda, who had just returned from work, was also depressed. His sister said that he was probably feeling guilty and had married someone else without telling his wife. The uncle felt that Gouda's behavior was really too much, and said that sooner or later, his sister would be punished for what she had done. This made the snobbish sister almost die of anger. The mother-in-law quickly took down all the family photos. When Gouda returned to his room, he saw a note left on the table. Ellie said that she was very grateful to him for letting her take her mother out to play. She said that she had already packed all the clothes she would need for the next few days. Just follow the instructions on the note and take out what you need to wear. Even the underwear and socks she would need to change were packed. At this moment, Gouda seemed to feel a little bad about it. Ellie is taking her mother on a trip abroad and enjoying a happiness she has never known before. At this moment, she thinks that her husband and mother-in-law are treating her very well. Gouda and Eula quickly hold a wedding ceremony, but the scheming mother-in-law seems very uneasy. She is afraid that someone will come and cause trouble. She calls in a lot of security guards to stand guard at the door. Ellie calls but there is no answer. At this time, the whole family is at the wedding. The simple Ellie and her mother think that the family has gone out to play and don't care. Little did they know that at that very moment, their husband and Eula were having a romantic wedding ceremony. When Gouda was asked if he would marry Eula, he didn't hesitate for a second and said yes. The two of them became a real couple. Uncle wiped away his tears as he watched the whole thing. Ellie called everyone at her in-laws' house, but no one answered. She had no choice but to call her younger sister and ask her to go to the dry cleaners and pick up her husband's clothes and bring them home. She told her sister the house code. The speechless sister had no choice but to deliver them. But there was a strange nanny at home. She said that the son of this family got married today and everyone went to the hotel. Enzo was puzzled because there was only one son in this family, so he was the brother-in-law. The nanny didn't bother to explain too much and asked Enzo to take the clothes directly to the room upstairs. But Enzo found the invitation on the table. It really was that her brother-in-law got married to another woman. She rushed to the hotel regardless of everything and saw that the groom was really her brother-in-law, but she was stopped at the door by the security guard. In anger, she had to call her sister, who was far away abroad, and tell her that her husband had married someone else. When she heard the news, Ellie couldn't believe it. Enzo, furious, went straight to Guda's house. Lucy said, "My brother never registered his marriage with your sister." Enzo picked up everything and smashed it. He told them to hand over the man. In the end, the few of them went directly to the police station. They wanted to make Enzo, who had acted, pay the price. At this time, Guda and Eula were preparing to go out for their honeymoon. Ellie couldn't get him to answer the phone no matter how many times she called. When she got home, she saw that no one was at home. Anxious, Ellie had to run back to her in-laws' house. When they saw Ellie, they were shocked at first and refused to let her uncle open the door for her. No